I am here through the grace of a merciful God and a praying mother and a father I know in my heart that didn't give up on me. How many of y'all know there's no rules in a crowd that don't play fair? Because there's no win in a game with no rules. And that's the crowd I chose to live with for so many years. It was in 1979, sitting in Stateville Maximum Security Penitentiary, and I was looking at the news. And they was bringing down the results, the indictments of those that participated in a riot in Pontiac Prison. And as they showed this list of guys that was indicted for this riot, my eyes zeroed right in on my name. Me and 16 other brothers was charged with 15 counts of murder, 2 attempt murder, mob action as a result of this riot. And the most scary thing was going to court, and because of my limited education, I couldn't follow the dialogue that was going on in the courtroom, and that was real scary. But on top of that, 17 of us, we didn't even really know each other. I came to that prison a month before the prison riot happened. I got transferred to the actual cell house where the riot actually happened that Wednesday, and the riot happened that Saturday. And in the process of the riot, I even got stabbed in the riot. I was one that was out a victim, right? But God have it, we got acquitted on that case. And for years, I saw myself with dealing with these messages that I can't do this, you can't do that, because I was labeled in 1973 a habitual criminal, meaning I had a habit of committing crime, right? So when trying to make turn my life around, it was a battle. There was legal battles. Even today, after being out of prison 35 years, still today, there are certain licenses I can't even apply for. There's over 80 licenses in Illinois that I can't even apply for because of my conviction. In spite of all what I accomplished, if I can go to a Walmart, their policy may say, we don't hire convicted felons. So this is my battle. How do I break through these barriers here? I find myself at maybe 32 sitting in a GED class trying to learn how to do fractions and multiplications and how to move a decimal. And I was in this classroom with a bunch of young children, 18, 19 years old, laughing at the questions I asked and calling me Pops. I wanted to hit one of these little mugs in the eye, but I didn't want to get out the class. So this was my battle, working in a warehouse in Rosemont, Illinois, making $4.25 an hour. And everybody in the warehouse was stealing out the warehouse, getting high on their lunch break. I was on parole at the time, living in a transitional living, fighting to complete parole for the first time in my life. I've been on juvenile supervision in 1963, broke that and ended up on juvenile probation, violated that, ended up in a juvenile prison, come out on a juvenile parole, violated that, ended up in the county jail, come out on adult probation, violated that, and ended up in prison, come out on adult parole in the system. So I found myself in this warehouse fighting to complete parole because I don't want to steal out the warehouse. I don't want to get high on my lunch break. And I got this crazy thinking because this double conscience I live with. On one hand, I want to live right, but this $4.25 an hour ain't doing the job. And I found out where the safe was at, so I had a brilliant idea. Maybe I just robbed the joint. But the reality was they had my name, my address. That's not a good idea. So now I'm starting to think a little different. But as God have it, I was doing some volunteer work at an adolescent drug unit. They asked me to speak to these young people that had drug problems that probably got some of the brushes with the police, right, for me to speak with them, to encourage them, to motivate them. And as a result, one of the nurses approached me and said, hey, we got a position for a psychiatric technician position. And in my mind, I'm not qualified to be a psychiatric technician. But they said, no, it's a milieu tech. Make sure they don't run through the hallway, take the hats off in the building, and all this stuff. I said, okay, maybe I can do that. I just got my GED. So they hired me. This was January 86, and I worked there until October 86, and finally I was off parole. First time been out the system since 1963. And then my old case manager comes and says, hey, they got a counselor position open up in Evanston, Illinois. Why don't you apply for it? I had never been to Evanston in my life, but in my mind, Evanston is a rich white suburb. They're going to lock me up as soon as I get off this L. But it was a support network that encouraged me, man, go for it, you can do this. And I went up there and I applied and they hired me because of my drug background. and I just got a GED, right? But the problem was they were using all these clinical terminologies. You know, like this client struggled with maladaptive behavior, and this one has impaired social skills. And in my mind, I want to say something. You know, all that Ma got to do is bust that out of his game, and he could be straight. But you can't use slang in a professional setting. And I'm giving myself these messages. I don't belong here. But where can I go? Back in this little box I've been in all my life. And in this box, you got high school dropouts. You got hustlers, thieves, hookers, gang members. And now here I am outside the box, people speaking with good diction, pursuing careers, and I'm feeling incompetent. But it was the support group that I was part of, encouraging, man, enroll in school. I enrolled in school. I took enough classes, I became a certified drug abuse counselor. So I was able to speak the clinical terminologies. I went back and I got an associate degree in mental health and substance abuse. Then I went and got a bachelor's degree in inner city studies. And by this time, I raised up in the ranks and I was a director of a program. Things I never believed I can do, breaking through boundaries. I went back to school and got a master's degree in leadership development and education. And that same university hired me to teach in the justice studies department. And it's kind of funny. My first class they gave me was teaching on the history of Chicago street gangs. Yeah. Then I got this class on introduction to criminal justice, right? And it's funny, some of the students are parole agents, probation officers. I'm like, wait a minute, I used to be in y'all custody, now y'all my students. God got a good sense of humor. Right? See, there ain't no rule, you can't build your shield on the battlefield. This is what I tell, I do these presentations, these Project Safe neighborhood forums they have. And this is a forum that the Chicago Police Department and the feds come together to address those that come out of prison and have guns in their background, the shooters. So you have the law enforcement on one side warning them if they get caught with a gun again, their case is going federal. And then you have, on this side, all the social agencies that say, well, we're going to help you with a job, help you get in school. Then they had me in the middle as a voice of redemption to talk about how I sat where they sat and how I've learned how to live a life now without a gun, right? And so in doing that, the assistant director of all the prisons was present, and she said, I'm impressed with what you're saying. Them guys was really into what you were saying. How about we just open up a new prison in Illinois, and the whole prison is drug rehab? What do you think? I said, I'm not trying to work in no prison. And so she saw me maybe a few months later down at City Hall, testifying at a hearing as an expert witness, treatment on demand, because they see that most people that got drug problems end up in prison or jail to get treated because they don't have insurance. They end up in the system. That's how they get treated. And I was one of those guys that end up in the system where I got treated for my heroin addiction. And she said, well, let me talk to you in a state building. Come down to my office to the state building. I go down there, we talk, and she gave me an offer I couldn't refuse. So she created a position for me, a community liaison for the prisons in Illinois. Just think, I got barred out of prison. Now here I am, the community liaison for all the prisons in Illinois, where there's a treatment facility within the prison. And I go inside the prison, I talk to the inmates. We talk about visions, right? And these guys, they don't have vision. Young people don't have vision. So my job is to pull a vision out of them, give them some examples. Like, what do you want life to look like 2 years after you come out of prison? What do you mean? What do you want life to look like 2 years after you come out of prison? For example, do you want to have your own apartment? Do you want to be off parole? What are some other things? So you got to pull the vision out of them, right? So now what do you got to do to make that a reality? You got to set some goals. And when you set goals determine what you should be doing every day, and goals also determine what you shouldn't be doing. Goals determine who you should be associating with and who you shouldn't be associating. But you got to set those goals. And I offer these young guys, because the majority of them come from Chicago, where there's a lot of shooting and gang activity. I encourage them, man, in order for you to reach your goals, you got to stay alive. You can't get killed. So ask yourself, can you get killed going back to the old crew you hung out with? Can you get killed just by hanging with certain people, hanging in certain places? Second thing is you're not going to reach your goal if you get arrested. Can you get arrested hanging with the old crew in certain places? And you got to reach these goals. And I was able to look at what it was about me that was blocking me. What are some of my blocking agents that held me back from stepping into my greatness? It was all here. The messages I gave myself, how I viewed myself. And so for so many years, I viewed myself as a street hustler. And I saw the world through the eyes of a street hustler. And I only saw myself functioning in the world as a hustler. So I had to change my perception of myself. I had to change my view of who I am to see the world different and see myself functioning in the world different. That's when I knew I had to get in school. I knew I had to become this citizen because I've been an outlaw all my life. And so I had to cross this line to become a citizen. It was hard being a citizen because citizens obey the law. I mean, because I was that guy, it was hard for me to just pay my bus fare and just sit down on the bus. Because I'm used to sneaking on buses, looking for bogus transfers. And when I get on bus, I pick pockets. And if I'm not picking a pocket, I'm in the back of the bus with them 3 cards, 3 tops of the ball, and I was Poe George. You know, all you good folks turning on around, you ain't got to frown about the baddest game ever hit this town each and every time. Turn to one red card in the center, so you're going to be a winner. Say 2 blacks, say you can't get your money back. I was that guy. So it was hard for me to just pay my bus fare, just sit down and watch all these gifts just walk past me. So I had to learn how to be a citizen. And what motivates me today, the most important thing that motivates me today is this 6-year-old grandson I have. And I just pray to God that I live to see him cross a stage with some degree, that he don't go down that same path that his father went down, and I went down, his grandfather and his father, right? So this is my motivation today. And I talk to young men, young guys still flirting with this street gang piece. Maybe about 10 years ago, I'm laying up, and a girl I grew up with called me and said, I need to get to the west side real soon. It was a drive-by on my parents' porch, and my 8-year-old nephew got shot in the head. He must have survived maybe 2 days, and my sister asked me to go in there to give her last words to him before they pulled the plug. And he had got shot by members of a street gang that I started back in 1966. And so the new leaders of that gang came to me and said, hey, we know this is one of our guys, and we love you more. We honor you, man. We can deal with this. And my position was, look, man, my concern is my mother who just lost her baby grandson, and my sister who just lost her younger son. I got to be here for my family. God gonna take this. I'm talking about crossing boundaries. Because at one time, I wouldn't hesitate to go, strap up, gun everybody down. I'm coming through to get that revenge. But God got a way of changing your heart. So I talked to young people. Maybe 5 months ago, one of the little guys that run crews now, because there in Chicago, there's no more street organizations, little cliques. And one of the guys that came to me to run a clique, he asked my little son-in-law, do he think that he can talk to me? I said, sure. And he said, man, my little crew, we at war with another crew. You think you could sit us down so we could kind of reconcile? I said, sure. So I set this meeting up so they can talk to each other. And I said, well, look at the common thing. You both trying to get money. No, you ain't working job. Y'all selling drugs. But how can you sell drugs when you got the police coming down on you because you shot them, or these guys coming down because you shot one? How can you get money? You come to some compromise. At least that cut down some violence, right? So they can come to a compromise. And then they said, well, you need to bring this other group in. They brought another group in. So now I got a table of 9 different cliques coming together. And the violence in the Austin community has went down because of this. But it's scary because of my background. The police can look at it as I'm reorganizing because they never let you go. They never take it. When I go on Facebook, you Google my name, Benny Lee, Chicago, it still attached me to the street gang I was part of. You tap in the street gang I was part of, Vice Lord, it still throw updated pictures of me. You never get out of this. So my message to young brothers is, man, you got to be able to set up an alibi system for yourself. An alibi system. I remember last year the police kicked my door in. right? My son called me. He said, Pops, where you at? I said, what you mean, where I'm at? He said, don't go home. The police just kicked your door in. What you mean the police just kicked my door in? He said, I got to get honest with you. I have some guns in your house, right? So when I get there, the police say, yeah, we got what we came in for. The one that's in your son's name, if he turns himself in, there's nothing we can do for you. I get my son on the phone. He said, I'll be there in 5 minutes. I said, now, when you get here, don't own those guns. You ain't going to have a chance in court. But, Pops, I said, no, don't own those guns. Take it to court. Tell him you talk to your lawyer. And when he got there, they took him to jail. Then they took me to jail with him. And they charged me for not having a valid Ford card. This is the first time I've been fingerprinted and mug shot in so many years. I'm like a cat on roller skates going up in this police station because this is not, I'm out of this. It's been over 35 years since I've been in this here. And my son like feeling so bad and wanted to just tell all, I said, look, follow the script. And they're going to pull you out tonight and they're going to play on your remorse because you're feeling bad that you got me here. Stick to the script because you ain't going to have it. So now I got to take my father hat off and put my OG hat back on, right, to coach him through this. As God have it, he beat the case. They threw it out on me, right? But it's just the things I got to constantly deal with. Even though I got my life together, but those around me, all right, I got to live by what you call these law of possibilities. I still live in Chicago. I still got old buddies, I'll be 65 next month. These old fools, I mean, just look out of character. Come on, man, you still competing against these young guys. What I look like? Running through a gangway, jumping over a fence. But that's just out of character for an old guy. But you got some old guys still doing, and they, yeah, man, come on, man. Won't you run me down here? Man, you was all right before I ran into you. Because I don't know what he done did an hour ago or last night, and he in my car, and I don't know, he strapped up, got some dope on him, and I don't know, my back brake lights ain't working. The police decided to pull me over, and then he become like Scooby-Doo, right, because he got this pistol. No, I can't take that risk. So this is life for me, breaking through barriers. Right, breaking through those barriers, even legal barriers, those social barriers, those psychological barriers, those cultural barriers. This is what life is like for me. I just thank God he done brought me this far. And I believe that he saved me out of all those guys I come through prison with, in the streets with, that's no longer here. He saved me to be his messenger for these young brothers that do not know what they're going through. Thanks for listening.